There's a reason you're reading this right now. Not tomorrow, not last week. Right now. Because something in you recognizes the title. Your season of loss just ended. And I know you feel it. That strange lightness. Like you've been carrying something heavy for so long that you forgot what it felt like to stand up straight. Loss has a rhythm. It comes in waves, in cycles, in seasons. And most people don't realize they're in one until they're drowning. You lost things. Maybe people. Maybe versions of yourself. Maybe dreams you thought were permanent. And each loss felt random, chaotic. Like the universe was taking things from you without reason. But here's what changes everything. Loss isn't punishment, it's preparation. Think about it. When a tree loses its leaves in autumn, is nature punishing the tree? No. The tree is getting ready for winter. It's releasing what it can't sustain anymore. It's making space. And when spring comes, new growth appears in places the old leaves would have blocked. Your losses weren't random. They were precise. Each thing that left your life left for a reason. Not because you deserved it. Not because you failed. But because you were entering a new season and the old couldn't come with you. I know that sounds nice, but you want proof. You want to know how this actually works. So let me show you. Reality operates on one simple principle: resonance. Everything that exists in your life exists because it matches something in you. Your relationships, your opportunities, your struggles, your wins. They're all reflections of an internal state, not as punishment or reward, just as match. When you change internally, your external reality has to reorganize itself to match the new you. But here's the thing, reality doesn't update instantly. There's a gap, a transition period, and that gap is what you experienced as loss. You weren't losing things, you were becoming incompatible with them, like a radio tuning to a new frequency. For a moment, you lose the old station. There's static, silence. You think the radio is broken, but it's not broken. It's tuning. Every single thing you lost in this season was tuned to the old frequency, the old you, the version of yourself you were becoming too big for. And when you started changing, when you started growing into something new, those things couldn't match anymore. So they left. Not because they were bad, not because you were bad, but because the match was broken. And here's what most people miss. The loss isn't the problem. The gap between losing the old and receiving the new is the problem. That's where people get stuck, in the emptiness, in the silence. They think the silence means nothing's coming. So they panic. They try to go back. They try to recreate what they lost. They try to force the old frequency back on. But you can't. Once you've tuned to a new frequency, the old one sounds like noise. So you stayed in the gap, maybe not by choice. Maybe you tried to go back and couldn't. Maybe you tried to force things and they kept breaking. But somehow you stayed. You sat in the emptiness. You lived in the silence. And that's why you're seeing this now. Because the gap is closing. You know how sometimes you meet someone and within 5 minutes, you feel like you've known them forever. That's resonance. You're on the same frequency. Communication is easy. Understanding is instant. There's no effort. And you know how sometimes you talk to someone and every word feels like work? Like you're speaking different languages even though you're using the same words? That's frequency mismatch. You're not on the same wavelength. Your season of loss was about frequency mismatch. Everything that left was on a different wavelength than where you were going. and you couldn't see it at the time because you were still partially on that old frequency yourself. But you're not anymore. Something shifted. Maybe you don't even know when. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it was last Tuesday. But something in you tuned to a new station, and suddenly the static stopped. That's what you're feeling right now. That lightness. That strange sense of opening. Like a door you didn't know existed just appeared in a wall you've been staring at for months. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. Here's what happens when a season of loss ends. The universe stops taking and starts giving. But not randomly. Not the same things you lost. New things. Better matched things. Things tuned to the new you. And you'll know they're right because they'll feel easy. Not perfect. Not without effort. But easy in a way that old things never were. Like they were always meant to be there. Like they're not additions to your life, but returns. Pieces of yourself you forgot existed. This is where people make a mistake. They think the end of loss means the arrival of everything they want. It doesn't. It means the arrival of everything that matches. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You might not want everything that matches the new you, because the new you isn't the fantasy version you imagined during the losses. It's the real version, the one that actually grew, the one that changed in ways you didn't plan. You thought you'd lose things and become stronger, more confident, more successful. And maybe you did, but you also became quieter in some ways, louder in others. You care about different things now. You're attracted to different energy. What used to excite you feels empty. What used to scare you feels like home. The end of a lost season doesn't mean you get your old life back with upgrades. It means you get a new life that fits who you actually became. And that's scary, because part of you still wants the old things, the old people, the old version of yourself. Loss is painful, but it's also familiar. You know how to live in it. You know how to survive it. But this opening, this space where new things can enter, you don't have a map for this. Let me tell you what's about to happen. You're going to doubt it. You're going to see signs that your season changed, and you're going to tell yourself you're imagining it. You're going to meet new people, find new opportunities, feel new energy, and you're going to wait for it to break, because everything broke before. But it won't break. Not the things that match. Those things have staying power. Not because they're perfect, but because they're aligned. You'll know something matches when it doesn't require you to shrink, when it doesn't ask you to go back to who you were, when it meets you where you are and says, yes, this version, I'm here for this version. That's the difference between old frequency and new frequency. Old frequency required maintenance, effort, convincing. You had to work to keep things alive. You had to explain yourself, justify yourself, prove yourself. New frequency doesn't ask for proof. It recognizes you, like two parts of the same conversation, like you're finishing sentences that started somewhere else. Watch for that. Watch for the ease, not the lack of challenge, not the absence of growth, but the ease of recognition, the feeling that you're not trying to fit into something. You're just being in it. Here's how reality actually works. Everything is already connected. Every person, every opportunity, every experience. They're all part of one massive web of connection. And where you are in that web determines what you can access. When you change, you move to a different part of the web, different connections become available, different doors open, different people appear, not because they weren't there before, but because you weren't in the right position to see them. Your season of loss was you moving through the web. Every loss was a connection breaking. Every ending was a thread snapping. It felt like destruction, like you were losing your place in the world. But you weren't losing your place. You were changing it. And now you're in a new position, a new part of the web. And from here, you can see things you couldn't see before. You can access things that were always there but never available. You can connect with people who were always in the world but never in your world. This is what the end of a lost season actually means. You've arrived at a new position. The movement is over. The breaking is done. Now you're standing somewhere new, and the connections available from this position are about to become visible. You're going to think they're coincidences. You're going to think they're lucky breaks, random meetings, perfect timing. But they're not random. They're positional. You're in the right place now, and the right place has different access points than the wrong place. I'll tell you how to recognize them. Real opportunities don't feel like opportunities. They feel like continuations, like you're picking up something you already started, like the conversation was already happening and you just walked into the room. Fake opportunities feel exciting but hollow. They look good. They sound good. But when you really examine them, they're asking you to be someone you're not anymore. They're tuned to the old frequency. And if you take them, you'll end up back in loss. Not because they're bad, but because they don't match. The new things won't always make sense. They won't fit the plan you made during the losses. They won't look like what you thought you wanted, but they'll feel right in a way you can't explain. Like your body knows before your mind does. Trust that. Trust the feeling of rightness over the appearance of perfection. Here's what nobody tells you about transformation. It's not an upgrade, it's a shift. You don't become a better version of the old you. You become a different person entirely. Same history, same memories, but different priorities, different values, different energy. And the end of a lost season is when that different person finally gets to live in a world that fits them. You've been living in a world built for who you were. Every structure, every routine, every relationship. It was all designed around the old you. And as you changed, the world didn't fit anymore. It felt restrictive, limiting, wrong. That's why things had to leave. Not to hurt you, but to make room. Because you can't build a new world while living in the old one. You have to let the old one fall apart first. And it did. It fell apart around you. And you thought you were failing. You thought you were broken. But you were just in demolition, clearing space, making room for the rebuild. The demolition is over. The space is clear. And now the rebuild begins. Not with effort, not with force, but with allowance. You allow the new things in. You allow the new connections to form. You allow yourself to be someone different than you were. That's the hardest part. Allowing yourself to be different, because different feels like betrayal. Like you're abandoning who you were. Like you're leaving people behind. And maybe you are. Not because you want to, but because they're still living in the old world and you're building a new one. You can't take everyone with you. You can't force people to change positions in the web. They have to move on their own, and some of them won't. Some of them will stay exactly where they are. And that's okay. That's their path. But yours is different now. Your path is in the new position, the new frequency, the new world, and the people who belong in that world. They're already on their way. Some of them are already here. You just haven't noticed yet, because you're still looking for the old faces in the new space. Stop looking backwards. The new people don't look like the old people. The new opportunities don't look like the old opportunities. Everything is different now, and different is good. Different is the whole point. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "I'm ready for what matches me now." Write it as your promise. Nobody